I remember being on stage saying, I think this is it. I think when the curtain comes down, this is it. Because I was dancing on broken bones, performing.
Welcome back to the Mindful Trainer Podcast, the podcast that takes you inside the minds of athletes, coaches, trainers, and guides who have overcome challenges to reach their goals. I'm your host, Melanie Webb. Today is the first of a 3-part series dropping this week that has its roots not just in the fitness studio, but in the dance studio, in the discipline, artistry, and emotional imprint that ballet leaves on the body. My guest, Amie Kane-Lee, grew up inside that world. And like so many professional ballet dancers, she carried both the incredible strengths and the unspoken pressures of ballet into her career as a Pilates instructor. This first episode contains no critique of Pilates yet. Instead, we're going back to where the story begins. The ballet mindset, the perfectionism, the rigorous discipline, and the physical toll that shapes how so many people, especially women, later enter the world of Pilates. If you've wondered how athletes train, teach, and even cope with pain, this conversation opens that door with honesty and compassion. I'm so glad you're here. Let's step into episode 12. Well, good morning, Amie. Welcome to the Mindful Trainer Podcast. I should say
Good
welcome
morning.
back.
Thank you. I'm just going to take a minute and compose myself, get a sip of coffee.
Okay. Amie's been out with little Hanky this morning.
Yes, I did not budget my time wisely this morning, and
Hanky's a little rescue.
he's a little rescue, and he can take anywhere from 5 minutes to do his business to 15 to 20 minutes. And so,
You don't
and
rush
I,
that in the business, you know.
yeah. And I sat down here and realized I feel very 1980 something, 1992 maybe, with my like sweater. And Melanie, let's just Gen X this first.
You know, we're going to Gen X this conversation right now. You wore the perfect outfit to match the conversation. Amie and I are both Generation X. And I was telling Amie, I texted her earlier this week that I have been watching the most amazing docuseries on National Geographic Channel about Generation X. So I just have to say to anyone listening, if you were born between the years of 1968 and 1980, you will feel so seen.
I am excited to watch this. I
Yeah.
need to watch it. Yes, because I'll feel seen.
Not
I mean,
feeling so
today
seen?
I'll feel
Oh, you're
seen
seen, girl. I'm
after
seeing you
our
over there.
conversation. We're gonna shine a light.
Yes, we are. We're going to shine a light on an industry insider conversation that I don't even know a lot about. You occupy 2 realms within the fitness industry. I guess that's a good way to say it.
I
What do you
think
think?
I think I struggle with this question, so maybe we'll have some we'll get some insight as we talk through it. But yes, I'll say I kind of straddle the tension of 2 separate parts of this fitness industry.
And
I'll
paradigms, I
say
might add.
paradigms. Yeah,
They're very
that's a good
different.
that's a good way. That's a good word. Yes, I'm a personal trainer and a Pilates teacher, and those 2 kind of butt up against each other, if you will. And there's some tension there. And I I'm in both of it.
We're going to dive into some vulnerable territory here. You know, part of the why I want to start this podcast is because when colleagues get together, I think within any industry, we have conversations that I think are good for everyone to hear sometimes. And this is one of those conversations. This is one of those things that Amie and I talk about. And when we're sharing knowledge and making each other better at what we do, better at our craft. And this is one of those things you can't go Google because you're not going to find it. You're going to find it in conversation among real craftsmen and real masters of their trade. And with that, if you will, big picture in mind, Amie is going to share her story for the first time. And I think I know that I don't even know all the parts of this story after knowing Amie for 20 years. Is that safe to say?
I think so. I don't talk about it often, so I have my box of tissues ready
Oh, I didn't get
just in
mine.
case. That's okay.
I have a
I
shirt
I'll
low.
I'll be it's good. I'm excited. I think it's time, but it's a little there's a lot of nuance. And just like everything, there's nuance and context and I yeah, should we just dive
Let's dive
in?
in. Like I said, I'm going to learn new parts of one of my very best friends today, which is awesome and
Yes,
exciting. And I want to thank you again for coming on the
of
Mindful Trainer
course.
to do this. So I don't know, what age do we start?
I I was let's start maybe at my junior year in high school.
Okay,
Let's go back.
let's
Let's
go
go back
back.
to the
Is this
90s.
the 90s? Okay. All right. We are
Yes, we're in the
our
90s,
Gen X.
and little Ami left I left home. I grew up in Texas. Both my parents were teachers. I come from a long background of teachers. My grandfather was a flight instructor. He was a pilot his entire career from World War II until he couldn't fly, and he ended up actually piloting hot air balloons in his later years. And so I grew up with this incredible grandfather flying planes, and my parents were teachers. They were in Peace Corps. So I came up in this really curious, interesting world. And then I left home when I was in 11th grade and I moved up to Winnipeg, Canada. So straight north of Texas. And I was in a professional ballet school for my last 2 years of high school and then a few years after that. And um, I trained with an incredible ballet school in a program that you have to audition for. So it's a little bit different than you could call it a boarding school, but there's a rigorous audition process that you have to go through. A very small number of people are selected each year. And then each year that you work your way through the school until you graduate, we don't accept dancers back. They don't accept people back. So your graduating class is smaller and smaller and smaller. I want to say we had maybe 25 people my first year that I was in the school, and then we had maybe 10 of us by the time we graduated. And so it was a rigorous program, and I was dancing in the morning, eating lunch on the bus, and going to school, finishing school in the afternoon, and then going back to the ballet building in the evening and dancing again, doing more classes, rehearsals. And then Saturdays, again, Saturday mornings, we were in the studios and had Saturday afternoon and Sundays off. And we do everything again the next week. So it was a rough, really challenging couple years. And then graduated, went through a lot of turmoil in there. There's a lot of injuries that happen in the ballet world. It looks incredibly graceful and easy, and we are trained to look that way. It is deeply rooted in our training to make it look effortless and to make it look as if we just appeared out there. And dancers are a product. They are formed, shaped, molded to look a certain way and to move a certain way. And that's going to be a theme that I'd like to come back to, is that we are a product. We are more formed that way. So let's return to that. So I had a lot of injuries. I eventually, let's see, I moved to Europe. I spent some time in Europe dancing. I came back to Winnipeg, spent a little time dancing again, and then came down to the States and was at a couple different places in the States. And ultimately, I got injured, a whole series of foot injuries. I had a bunch of in one foot. And I realized on stage performing that was going to be it. That I remember being on stage saying, I think this is it. I think when the curtain comes down, this is it. Because I was dancing on broken bones, performing,
With a smile on
and
your face,
with a smile on my face, with,
with pain in your body.
yes, broken bones. I mean, if anybody's ever broken a bone, sprained an ankle, herniated a disc, I had all of it. And you don't let lead on that you're hurt. If you're hurt in the ballet world, somebody else goes in your place, and it's immediate. There are understudies, there are people, and that's how I got my first break. I was an understudy, someone injured her back, and I was flown to Europe and had to learn my my role, my position on the stage on the airplane on my way to Europe. So that happens, and people are waiting for, sadly, somebody people are waiting for people to get hurt for their shot to go on stage. And so I just knew that was it. And
How old were you? Can I ask?
I was 20, 20, no, 21, maybe 22.
21,
20.
22. So you're also in that moment, not only dealing with the pain of the injury and you're performing, so you're pretending that you're not in pain. And all those years you invested into not only your professional career as a ballet dancer, but the many years that led up to that opportunity of your junior year. How
Yes,
how old were you when you started dancing?
I was 3.
You were 3.
And I was 3, and I still have my very first little ballet slippers.
You
They're
do?
so tiny. Yeah, and it's hard for dancers depending on, a lot depends on proximity and, um, the ability to, honestly, the incredible, great privilege to have great teachers. And I had a teacher who saw something in me, and he got me to where I needed to be in order to then audition to take a bigger step to get into a bigger school that could really take me even further. So teachers will say, there's nothing more I can give you. It's time to go to that next step for your training. So it was long days balancing school, balancing rigorous training and discipline and understanding the craft and the history and the beauty that we were trying to create.
And the story that you're telling through these classic pieces being performed on stage.
Right. And a lot of the classical, there's many different types of dance, there's many different styles of ballet, and each style comes from, you'll have different time periods. So ballet started in the courts of Louis XIV. I mean, it's old, and that classical old setting is preserved in many companies. And so, especially in Winnipeg, we learned the Russian style was what we were trained in, Vaganova style, which is a Russian, very strict, very regimented, disciplined. It's this way, your leg is this height, or get out of the studio. It was scary. And then there's a French style, there's American with Balanchine style. So there are all these different styles that are all considered ballet. Then you have contemporary, modern, neoclassical, romantic. So there's a wide variety of types, styles of ballet. And so when people say, "Oh, I don't like the ballet," I say, "Well, are you sure? Because there's definitely a style or something out there that you may really relate to." And there's definitely things that I just can't even stand myself. I just, ugh, am not a fan. So, yeah, you have to learn all of the appreciation for all of these different styles and appreciation for when you maybe move your hand in one way for one style of ballet, and then how maybe you would move your hand in another way or your head placement for a different style. Balanchine style is very, very different than Vaganova, very different style from French. So we had to adapt to whatever we were doing, whatever we were performing, we adapt our body to that style, that piece. Am I making sense with all of this?
You are. And if I can drill down a little bit into like, okay, you're molded and you're shaped and you're taught these disciplines, but it's a little more intense than that. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
there's body shaming in the dance world.
So much.
The language, I'm imagining that you're not just at this level of professional, sitting around having a nice conversation, being invited to like, what's
No.
that like?
When you Okay, now I think it's important to say that, there has been a change in the culture of the ballet world of late. Dancers like Misty Copeland have really pushed a really important change, in my opinion, in this world. So the world that I grew up in and that I was a professional in it's a slightly different world now than it was then. However, the overall themes of really body shaming, mental, for lack of a better word, mental abuse, it's a problem. The mental health of dancers is a real thing.
Huh.
It is being discussed in certain circles as a very, very real issue. And I don't see that going away anytime soon. There are moves in a good direction, but it's not fixed by any means. So, I mean, I was maybe 80 pounds soaking wet when I left for Winnipeg, and I had a teacher that told me I needed to lose weight.
Unbelievable. And you're
Yeah,
about, how tall are you again?
I'm 5'3", 5'3" ish.
5'3", 80 pounds, and being told you needed to lose weight.
Yeah. And it was this wispy, long, lean, very traditional ballet body. Long legs, pointy feet, long neck, long arms. There's this idea of what a perfect ballet body should be. And I say should with air quotes, should be. And for example, I'll give you an example. When you go into audition for a ballet school or as a professional to get a job, many auditions are called cattle calls. And you'll go into a room I was at an audition in New York City, or, 100 girls at this audition. You have numbers, you have like piece of paper on your leotard, on your, uh, on your person, and you're a number. You are just a number, and you would be lined up according to your number, and they would look at your body, and people were cut right away. They would then kind of move your body. You'd point your feet, you'd lift your leg, you'd do a back bend. They would check your flexibility, and then people were dismissed. So they're literally weeding out a very specific type of body that they wanted to see on stage. There is no artistry in that. So ballet is an art. It is also a athletic profession, but there is an aesthetic that is wanted. And if you don't fit that aesthetic, thank you, no. I mean, even as small as hair color. Well, you can dye your hair, but it's a guessing game. What do they want? What do they want to see? Do they need shorter dancers, taller dancers? I am on the shorter side, so I would often be just weeded out right away because of my height. The artist comes later, being able to express yourself through movement and express feelings, emotions, stories comes later once you get the job. If you're and then depend on your level in the company. So you would be the very first job you would often get is as an apprentice, and you're just learning the rope, and you do what they tell you to do. You go any role, you learn all of the different roles, stage right, stage left, everything. Then you would be promoted to corps de ballet, and the corps de ballet members are, if you've seen Swan Lake and there's, 18 swans, they all look the same.
Yes.
They all have the same choreography, the same look. Everyone is the same. So you go through there. And then there's second soloist, first soloist, principal, and then prima ballerina kind of up at the top. So once someone starts getting higher and higher and higher in the ranks, that's when artistry tends to be more allowed. Expression of who you are is allowed. If you're one of the 18 swans, there's no expression. Everyone is the same. Everyone looks the same. Everyone mirror images. So you learn how to assimilate to your fellow dancers.
Because you're a company.
Yes, there is no individuality so that is learned. It's learned how to be quiet, not question, do what you're told, make your body shape into what we want it to be, or else you don't have a job.
Okay. I think that's a good foundation. And you laid the groundwork. You help us understand this background that you come from as a professional.
Mm-hmm.
So take us back to being on stage and knowing that that's going to be your last performance. Where do we go from there? The Mindful Trainer is the official podcast of WebWell. I'm your host, Melanie Webb. I'm also the founder and master trainer at WebWell. To learn more about WebWell and all we have to offer, please visit us at webwell.com. That's WEBBUELL. Today's conversation was really about the environment that shapes a body, the discipline of ballet, the search for belonging, and the quiet resilience that develops long before anyone ever touches a Pilates reformer. In episode 13, we follow that path into the Pilates studio, how dancers often transition into teaching, the promises Pilates makes, and the moments when that promise starts to crack. Stay with us because in episode 14, Amie Kane-Lee once again helps us explore the bigger picture, what actually supports healing, strength, and emotional well-being when movement becomes part of your identity. If this episode resonated with your own story or made you reflect on how your early training influences who you are today, I'd love for you to stay with us over the next 2 parts. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button. See you next time.